John Hanson, trombonist, University of Northern Iowa. One of your concepts that I have found to be so helpful, and I would like to have you share with the other people, is the dual role that you alluded to earlier for those of us that are in the business of playing and teaching.
As I said, I've watched many fine players go downhill when they've started teaching. Many careers were actually aborted too early by people who became teachers, and you have to look at what teaching involves. It involves a tremendous amount of analysis. In other words, here's this magnificent human brain, which we all have, trying to learn what the student is doing. You try to hear what they're doing, you try to guess what they're thinking, how to communicate, but the brain is wide open for incoming messages through the eyes, through the ears. In other words, the question state of the brain becomes very dominant. There's a tremendous risk to this that you carry it over into your practice and you start self-teaching based on the same questions. We don't play by questions, we play by statements. We use psychomotor. When you're going to play, you'll always play based on a message for somebody else. Da, 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 da. It's a voice. You understand what I'm doing there in a sense. I'm not controlling embouchure, I'm controlling the sound. When I've controlled the sound, I've controlled the meat. I can't do that if I'm going into self-analysis. In other words, this is simply a readout of my thoughts. If you have a question, you will not have the stimuli in the brain for the reflex response in your tissue. It's that simple. You wear different hats. When you talk to somebody else, you've got to have something to say. If you're listening, then you receive. Now, there are qualifying factors. There are always low-level feedback systems where you'll always know somewhat what you're doing. But I had a PhD come to me for once, a brass player. May I just get this in?
Sure.
This PhD played dreadfully. It was just awful. He could out-talk me and outright me a dozen different ways with his knowledge of brass playing. It was mostly wrong. But he was very fluent and very good at writing on the subject and talking on the subject, but it was not right. When he played, again, there was this lack of communication between different levels of his own brain. He played by the slide, he played by the notes and all the mechanics of it. I finally got this man who was talented in art to draw a picture of his wife by memory. Then we analyzed how he got the picture on the paper. And of course he has to have it in his brain, and there he's forming it line by line for me to view, and it really was quite good. And of course we have to extrapolate this then back into the same concepts for sound, not just drawing it with paper and pencil, but into the tonal factors. It's the same thing, and immediately there was progress. So the question, as you stated, the answer is you have to create a discipline for yourself, that when the horn is in your hand, you become a storyteller of sound and phrase and all the inputs of your art form. When you teach, analyses, but don't permit the student then to do the analyzing in the sense that he's the one telling the story. Use a tape recorder. Then instead of analyzing his playing while he's playing, he analyzes it on the playback. Immediately the microphone becomes an audience. It's a very fine tool. Have somebody listening out there. Make them use imitation if necessary. I think I mentioned this morning about the trumpet player. I'll have him imitate Bud Herseth. And when he does, we'll say on the Promenade from Pictures, immediately we get a first-class performance from a man who might have been having great difficulty up to that moment. Well, maybe the next time would be difficult, but that one performance indicates that it could be done if the signals and tissue response to signal are right. So just wear different hats.